Welcome to Creating Connections Podcast, episode 151. I am Mitch Taylor.
And I'm Vicki Musney.
And today we're talking about a chapter of our book, Creating Connections for Event Pros. And we are in week 2 right now, and day 13, if you're following along the podcast with us. And week 2, day 13 chapter is authored by Vicki, and it's Being Authentic. She will give us her take on this chapter right after the break.
That was nice and easy.
What are you talking about? This also speaks to a much bigger issue.
Providing personal solutions through understanding people. This is the Creating Connections Podcast with Gitomer Certified Advisor Mitch Taylor and Certified Personality Trainer Vicki Musney.
Welcome back to Creating Connections Podcast, episode 151. I'm Mitch.
And I'm Vicki.
And today we pick up where we were for our book, Creating Connections, 31 Days to Building Stronger and Deeper Relationships. They were on week 2, day 13, and chapter 13 here. So week 2, day 13? Yes, week 2, day 13. Coincides with chapter 13, ironically enough. And the chapter title is Be Authentic. Vicki, you're quoted in this chapter as saying, quote, "People are getting back to doing business with people, and they want the people they do business with to be real and genuine," end quote.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And the whole adage of people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust, I think that's true now more than ever. And people are expecting personal conversations, and social media and texting and those kind of things are giving us even more opportunities to connect. I still love, I meet, clients face to face. I still love just good old fashioned conversations across the table. If I can get a couple to sit down and meet for happy hour, that's like my favorite consultation. Just not just because I'm a fan of happy hour, but because I think that environment is so conducive to authentic conversations.
Sure it is. You get to know what's the buzz, and you get a buzz.
Nice. No, but I think it sets you up as someone that they might want to be friends with. And for me, that's one of my criteria when I'm selecting what clients I'm going to work with is, do I actually like them? But it goes back to the other previous chapters about being in the moment. And I know we've talked about that a lot, but it's just being real. But authentic, I think, goes a little bit more personal, because it's not only just being in the moment and listening, but it's a vulnerability thing. It's being able to relate to them, and yes, listening to where they are, what their concerns and experiences and needs are, but being willing to share. And I know the story I share in here is one that I share fairly often because it is part of my story.
Yeah.
And every time Mitch and I do the Sales for Event Pros training together, it comes up, and I've challenged myself. I've tried to do it without tearing up, and I still can't. But I guess that's because I'm being authentic and I'm being real. But people ask me about how our business started, and I talk about how my husband had just finished video animation school a few months before our wedding, and he put together this really cool video slideshow, which in 1996 was incredibly new and novel.
Sure.
People didn't know how to do that, and you couldn't make those on your phone at that time. But the challenge was he had one of his friends from school that agreed to video our wedding. And not having worked in the events industry before and being among the first of my friends to get married, I didn't really think about, and I didn't have anybody asking me those questions about what was going to matter to me down the road. So we let my husband's friend shoot our wedding, and eventually he finally gave us a bunch of raw tapes because he had no intentions of actually editing it in anything watchable for us. So at least I kind of had this sense of, okay, well, I've got something that someday might be able to be edited into something. And I never got a video. And the day my grandpa died, 13 years after we first got married, the first thing I said to my husband when I heard the news was, I just want to hear my grandpa's voice one more time. Could you please get out that tape that your friend recorded and play the part of the ceremony so I could at least hear my grandpa's voice? My grandpa was a pastor, and he helped do part of our ceremony and did a reading, and it was really special to me. And that was the day that I found out that there was no audio on that tape. And I can honestly talk to anybody I know planning a wedding and just look them in the eye and say, please don't let my story be your story. I don't even care if you book my company for video, but you're going to want this later.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just me being real.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't do it as a scare tactic or trying to manipulate people, but I want people to learn from my mistakes. That is my biggest regret of that day, is that I can't go back.
Right.
You know, I have another planner friend who her father passed away 3 years after she got married. And she said to me one day, yeah, I have a really great photo of him giving the toast. She's like, why do I want a photo of the toast? I wish I could hear. You know, so whatever your story is, and if you're not married, you still have stories that clients can relate to, or if it's a birthday party or anniversary party, you've done enough events, you have stories. So put yourself in the moment, be willing to let your guard down just a little bit. It's not unprofessional to have emotions.
No, it absolutely isn't. Now, there's a time and place to keep them in check and those kind of things.
And I'm not bawling.
And no,
you know, I'm not.
I'm not saying you. You know, you need to know your strengths and weaknesses of your personality. You need to know the person whom before you sit. And then you need to share your stories and be authentic and genuine in a way that allows them to see how much you care. Mm-hmm. That allows them to understand what you can bring to their event and how you can provide them with exactly what they're looking for. That's the goal, is to connect on a deeper level so that you can truly serve them.
Yeah. I don't know how else to say it. Be authentic, be real.
Yeah. Being authentic, being real, the fear that we have as human beings, as business owners, as moms and dads, as husbands and wives, the fear we have of exposing ourselves, the fear we have of not letting people see our true self, because we don't want people to think about, you know, ooh. I mean, Mike McAllowitz talked about it last week in our podcast. Yeah. You know, he talked about the fact of, I don't want people to, you know, the entrepreneur, you make all the money, you know, you know, that's not it. We're going around trying to do things ourselves too. And the difference is that our name is on the bottom line. Yeah. And so if you put your neck out there, if you will, if you stretch, if you show your true self and can let down your ego to admit you don't know everything, and you connect with someone and help them get what they want out of a situation, then you're going to win.
Absolutely.
By being authentic.
And if you missed last week's episode that Mitch just referenced with Mike McAllowitz, you talk about an authentic interviewer or interviewee, I should say.
Yes.
He's fantastic. So I encourage you to check that episode out if you missed it. A very, very authentic guy, willing to share from his successes and his failures. And yeah.
That's episode 151, Creating Connections, week 2, day 13, chapter 13. Be Authentic, authored by Vicki. That's from our book, Creating Connections, 31 Days to Building Stronger and Deeper Relationships. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for consuming our podcast, however you get it. If you get it online, if you get it on YouTube, iTunes, DJN TV. DJN TV is a sponsor now of the Creating Connections podcast. So we're thankful to have them on board and be a part of their channel, their network for Disc Jockey, for DJN TV. And thanks so much for consuming us however you can. Greatly appreciate it. I'm Mitch Taylor.
And I'm Vicki Musney.
We provide personal solutions through understanding people. We'll see you next time.
Have a great week.
Music Box Productions.
Thank you for listening to the Creating Connections podcast with Gittimer Certified Advisor Mitch Taylor and Certified Personality Trainer Vicki Musney. For more information on providing personal solutions through understanding people better, visit creatingconnections.biz.